putting what you wanted on D2L can help the student. It's a really underused resource we have that has so much potential.
The professors that use D2L are helping more than they know.
Oh yes, I love D2L.
Okay, yeah.
My professors will often set up course discussions on D2L.
Oh.
So with other students, you know, especially for me, that's ideal because I'm chatting online and I can see everybody's comments and especially who said what.
Yes.
You know, it's your name and then your comment, and I can add, you know, I can thread, I can do anything I'd like to participate. Sometimes in course, the interpreters will sign the other students' comments, but they don't have time to sign the name, or maybe they don't know the person's name, and especially since my eyes are focused on the interpreter, I'm not always going to turn around behind me in a lecture room and look to see who's saying it. So in D2L, I really, really enjoy it, you know, for that reason. I feel especially more motivated to participate on D2L. You know, it's, you know, compared to the classroom.
Right.
It's just easier.
I agree totally. D2L is really great.
So this time around, with experience, I've learned how I study, how I learn, and I try to seek out what I need to make sure that I'm able to be successful in school this time around, which has been going pretty good. Well, she used a method called a spiral method, which she would touch base on something, come back, touch base. So the one thing that I felt was great was that this professor already was thinking about how adults learn, and she patterned her teaching according to that. She made us, we had clickers, so we were engaged, and then we touched a little bit on a subject, we'll come back and touch back, so then I could start applying it already and start thinking about it and putting it in my head, and that was the spiral method, and that really worked well for me.
Yes, I have one thing that I'd really like to add. I just thought of it. In an ideal situation, all movies would be captioned. For example, if I watch a movie in the classroom and it's not captioned, then the interpreters have to stand up, stand next to the TV, sign it, and it is so hard for me to watch the interpreter and watch the television. I go back and forth, you know, so much that I'm missing everything. And I mean, in an ideal world, everything would be closed captioned and ready to go.
A really good learning tool that I've picked up is the more formats you have the material presented in, the easier it is, at least for me, to remember. So for example, if it's, and the repetition, if it's spoken and then if it's written down, if you can see it, it makes it easier. If you have all of those together, it makes it a lot easier to remember than if it's just spoken or just written.
I think it would make it a lot easier because it's not only the students with disabilities that need help, you know? Like there's some able-bodied students that still need a little help. Like they could use extra time, you know, because of an anxiety or just having that pressure off of knowing you have time to finish your test, or that if you miss something, there is a note taker that you are going to get everything. I think it would just make everything run a lot smoother.
The idea behind universal design is that it is not just accessible to people with disabilities, but that it has potential to benefit everyone with captioning for videos, in that someone who is sitting in the back of the room can see. They may not be able to hear everything that's being said. Someone may be talking too quickly. So by reading the captioning, maybe they can get a better gist of it. It may be someone who is hard of hearing. It may be someone who is deaf. So it can serve a lot of different people.
Designing course materials to be fully accessible is another important feature of universal design in an educational setting. Here are several suggestions from faculty, university staff, and students that describe how course materials can become accessible.
If you put a graphic onto a slide, you can add in descriptive notes so that a person who is trying to access it later using a screen reader who can't see the graphic, the screen reader will read the notes. That allows for it to be accessible. Media needs to be captioned. If there's any kind of audio at all, there needs to be some kind of captioning so that people who are deaf or hard of hearing can get the full content of the video. It's always easier when you're creating the media, creating the videos, to include the captioning in the process of creation of the videos versus what we call post-production captioning.
I've used enlarged print for tests and notes. I've used audiobooks. So I have a computer program at home that reads my books to me, basically. The Accessibility Center transforms my books into this format. And I bought a program to listen to my books. And then I always have a hard copy of the book too, because I can read, it's just, it causes pain and it's difficult. Black print is always good.
Black print on a white background?
That's not so good.
Okay.
Because it creates these, I call them auras, and then a real bright glow comes around each letter, and then on top of it, it's double vision. So something I've done in the past are to have my books photocopied, enlarged, black print on a cream-colored paper to absorb some of the brightness.
Student accessibility has been a great help in saying if you get the books, the materials there, they take care of them in the order of as we all need them, but very quickly. The turnaround time is very, very quickly. Whether it's if the book is this big, they may only get the first 3 chapters to accommodate me starting on time. The start on time is the big thing.
Right.
If I'm behind with the first week of class, I have to catch up throughout the semester, and that really is a challenge for me.
Let's listen to several instructors describe the available technology they've used, along with their personal teaching styles, which resulted in creating better access for all students.
Audio description of graphic. Video shows instructor using smartboard.
We've been on their case for over a year, and they've finally come up with more accessible clickers. Ones that are visually larger, ones that buzz and click, and you know, they're more tactile in orientation for folks with visual challenges. My experience, I've not had a person with visual challenges in my class, but I have had deaf students. It's a non-issue for a deaf student because the lights indicate whether or not a response has been received. Everybody has a little response touchpad. It kind of looks like a TV remote control, and it's a radio frequency signal, so you don't have to aim it. You can just, we encourage them to look at it to make sure their response is registered. What happens is there's special PowerPoint software that absorbs the clicker data, summarizes it. So if I have 120 students and I give them a multiple choice type response, in other words, I may pose a question, give them 5 possible answers, and say pick one. Okay? So I give them 30 seconds to pick one. And then I shut down the polling, I pull up the results, and we take a look at them. And if they're right on the money, I pat them on the back. If it's kind of mixed, I say, I think we better back up a little here and try again. So that's how student response systems work.